On Thursday 16th of November 2017, I walked from Cley-Blakeney, that's near Blakeney in Norfolk, to Blakeney Point. I wanted to look at the watch house and the lifeboat station. It was a long walk of about 3 miles along the beach, and some of it very difficult walking. So off I go. There are many, that's looking towards Weybourne, there are many fishermen on the beach there. So that's looking in the direction of Weybourne. And swinging back towards Blakeney. So I'm now walking towards Blakeney Point. I'm now walking along the top of the dunes. It's slightly easier walking there than along the beach. And I'm making for the watch house, which you can just see in the distance there. And looking inland towards Blakeney. Now I'm much closer to the watch house. And the last little walk is along a nice grassy walk. And I'm afraid it doesn't look very salubrious, but that is indeed the watch house. So I walked about 1.5 miles now. And as the notice says, the watch house is a disused Coast Guard station, purchased in 1932 and leased to the Girl Guides Association. There are some trinkets that the guides have put on the outside windowsill of the house there. So I'm now walking away from the house. It looks rather dark as I look towards it, and that's looking down towards Weybourne and swinging back again to look towards Blakeney Point, I should say. So walking along the beach there, it's quite, the tide's out, so it's quite easy walking along the beach at that point. And there is the first seal. He is way out of the area where walkers are supposed not to go. Perhaps he can't read the sign. He's known as a grey seal. Looks black to me. And looking along towards the restricted zone, the beach is absolutely littered with seals. And back towards the lone seal. And there's a sign that asks people not to go any further because of disturbing the wildlife and the seals. Now this is interesting. Those people are decorating that shack, house, hut, call it what you will. And I was speaking to one of the painters who's told me that they actually belong to the London University, and in the summer a lot of students come down, and I don't know whether they call it a holiday or field studies or whatever, but they come down and stay in these little shacks which are dotted about near the Coast Guard station at Blakeney Point. So the black part is the original Coast Guard house, and the blue part is a modern built place. And I interrupt myself there because that is interesting. That sign indicates the flood level in December 2013. So where I'm standing, I would be standing up to my chest in water. If I was there at that time, I suppose I wouldn't be standing there. Now looking round, all this area, right up to the Blakeney Hotel, which had to be evacuated, was flooded. And that new part of the Coast Guard station, my wife tells me, was the subject of a television programme where they did a lot of work to it and established a little museum there. So that's Blakeney Point. Now I walk out towards what would be the estuary, but it's low water mark. So over to the front there is all what would be the bed of the estuary. You see one or two grounded boats there. And there are one or two signs about to educate people as to what sort of things one can see there. And I've been to the watch house, and now walking a little bit away and towards the sea, and this long walkway has been provided, so I'm walking right up to the end of it, and at the end of it there's this sign which tells me about the dunes. And as I start to walk back, there is a seal swimming in the sea. And I videoed and did an amount of editing because the seal kept disappearing. So I filmed him as he appeared, and I found that a pattern emerged, that he stayed on the surface for a while and then disappeared below the surface for around about 10 or 11 seconds. And I've walked all the way back to Cley and walking along the bank towards Cley, and that's rather interesting. An Alan Williams turret. I'm afraid I wouldn't fancy being in there with a load of people shooting at me. So that is the bank next to a little road that leads to the beach at Cley. It's written C-L-E-Y, but the locals all pronounce it Cley. So that they're the houses of Cley. Looking back to where I've walked, and it was raining when I walked back from Blakeney Point, and you can just see that the sky's starting to clear from the horizon. And that is Cley Windmill, which, as you see, is very, very well maintained. I then followed the path that went from Cley Windmill through the village and out towards Blakeney. So the coastal path looks as though it's been carefully preserved, and that's the George Hotel, famous hotel in Cley. So the coastal path goes through various little gardens and things, and certain, I think, of the landowners have tried to put little gates in, or have put little gates in, which would deter anyone from going through them. But in fact, there is a public right of way through all the little gardens. But I walked through the village. Famous place called Cley Smokehouse. While I was walking today, my wife stayed on the bus and went into Cromer, then got a bus back to Sheringham, and then back to Blakeney, and I met her back at the Blakeney Hotel where we were staying. I'd had a day doing walking, where I walked about 10 miles, and my wife was very happy flitting about on the buses and doing a bit of shopping. So a fine day was had by both. And there ends the video.